For 100,000 years, childhood did not happen in classrooms. It did not happen in bedrooms, it did not happen on playgrounds, or behind locked doors. It happened beside fire, hunger, death, and the group. Today, a child may have a warm bed, clean water, medicine nearby, and adults planning their future. But here is the uncomfortable part. A child can be protected from almost every danger and still feel alone. Now take the modern world away. No school, no bedroom, no toys, no doctor, no safe walls. Just a small child standing near a fire in a world where one cold night, one infection, one animal could end everything. You would think childhood like that would only be fear, but it was tea. Children still played, they still laughed, they still learned, and maybe they had something modern childhood is slowly losing. So, what was childhood really like? 100,000 years ago. The easy answer is terrible, and we should not soften it. Ancient childhood was not safe. A small cut could become an infection. A cold night could become death. A bad season could mean hunger. There were no hospitals, no vaccines, no antibiotics, no emergency number. Outside the firelight, there was always something stronger. Animals, storms, darkness, cold, distance. So yes, ancient childhood was fragile, but danger alone does not explain how children survived. That is the first twist. If childhood was only fear, humans should have broken. Instead, we became more human. Archaeology gives us a clue. Around 100,000 years ago, at places like Kafze Cave, early humans were already burying their dead. Red ochre was found near the bones. That suggests memory, ritual, meaning a world with burial is not just a world of hunger. It is a world where people cared. So a child born into that world was not just born into danger. They were born into relationships. This is where we usually imagine it wrong. We picture one small child, lost in a giant ancient world, too weak, too slow, too helpless. And in one way, that is true. Human children are strange. They take years to walk well, years to understand danger, years before they can feed themselves. For most animals, that would be a weakness. For humans, it became a system. The child was weak, so the group had to become strong. A child did not grow up with one pair of eyes watching them. They grew up with many: a mother, a father, older children, grandparents, hunters, gatherers, people who knew hunger, people who knew cold, people who knew what could happen if a child wandered too far. In many hunter-gatherer societies, children are not cared for by parents alone. Many hands raise one child, and that changes everything. Ancient childhood was dangerous, but it was not built for loneliness. Maybe human children could stay helpless for so long because the group became part of their survival. There was no school, no classroom, no alphabet on a wall, no teacher asking everyone to sit still, no test at the end of the week. So it sounds like ancient children had no education. But that is the second twist. They had no school, because life itself was the school. A child learned by watching hands, how someone shaped a stone, how someone carried firewood, how someone looked at the ground and saw tracks where we would see nothing. A child might stare at an adult, then try the same movement later, with a smaller stick or a broken piece of bone. Studies of hunter-gatherer children today show something similar. Young children often learn by watching and copying as they grow. Play and practice become more important. So ancient children did not wait for real life to begin. They were inside it already. A tool was a lesson. A footprint was a lesson. A fire was a lesson. A mistake was a lesson. And then there was play. Even in a world that could kill them, children still played. They chased each other, hid behind trees, threw sticks, copied adults, pretended to hunt. Pretended to gather, pretended to fight, pretended to be brave before they truly were to us. Play can look like the opposite of serious life, but for ancient children, play was serious life. Wearing a smile, running trained the body, throwing trained the hand, hiding trained awareness, pretend fighting taught control. Following older children taught courage. They were just laughing, just moving, just trying again. But the body was learning, the brain was learning, and the group was learning too. Who shared? Who stayed calm? Who could be trusted? They had no toys from a store, but almost anything. A stick, a stone, a shadow, a footprint could become training. Play was not a break from survival. Play was survival before anyone had a word for it. But this kind of childhood had a cost, because being surrounded is not the same as being free. Ancient childhood was connected, but it was not private. There was no bedroom door to close. No quiet room, no personal space that belonged only to the child. A child's life happened in the open. If they cried, people heard it. If they were afraid, people saw it. If they made a mistake, the group noticed. If they wandered too far, someone pulled them back that could save their life. But it also meant almost nothing stayed hidden. A modern child can disappear into a room, into headphones, into a screen, into silence. An ancient child could disappear into almost nothing. They were watched by many eyes, held by many hands, shaped by many voices. That sounds warm. But it also sounds intense, because belonging has another side. The group protects you, but the group also knows you. Ancient children may have had less loneliness, but they also had less escape. And this is where the ancient world starts to feel uncomfortable, because modern childhood is better in many ways. A sick child can see a doctor. A cold child has blankets. A hungry child can open a fridge. A wounded child can be treated. That matters. Ancient life was not better. It was harder, crueler, more fragile. But safety came with a trade. Modern children are protected from danger, but often separated from life. They spend more time indoors, more time with screens, more time being watched, but not always accompanied, more education, but less chance to learn by doing something real. Food appears from a kitchen. Adults work somewhere else. Play happens in controlled spaces. Learning happens in controlled rooms. Childhood becomes safer but smaller. And that leaves a strange question. What if a child can be protected and still feel alone? What if a child can be educated and still feel disconnected from real life? Ancient childhood was dangerous. Modern childhood is protected, but protection is not the same thing as belonging. So what was childhood really like 100,000 years ago? It was not soft, it was not gentle, it was not safe. Children felt hunger, they felt cold, they saw death closer than any child should. They had no school, no medicine, no bedroom, no future plan written for them. But they had something powerful. They were needed, not someday, not when they grew up. Now they carried small things. They watched others, they copied, they played, they learned the voices of the group, and the group learned them. They belonged to the fire, to the stories around it, to the older children who pulled them along, to the adults who corrected them, fed them, warned them, and taught them without calling it teaching. Modern childhood gives children more safety. Ancient childhood gave them more belonging. One was not perfect. The other was not easy. Maybe the real question is not whether ancient childhood was better. It wasn't T. The question is, why did modern childhood become so safe and still leave so many children feeling alone? Maybe childhood was never supposed to happen alone. Maybe childhood was always meant to happen inside the group.